welcome to the Vocal Revolution Zoomcast, where we are talking about how you change the world with your voice. And my special guest today has an extraordinary career of musical activism. He was the drummer and one of the founding members of Scritti Politti in the 1980s, and he has had a 40-year career on stage and is now known as the Rockstar Activator for his amazing capacity to bring out the inner rock star in everyone and get them dancing, drumming and singing within minutes at conferences, events and festivals and workshops. He is none other than the most amazing man, Tom Morley. Thank you. Welcome. Hey, the crowd goes wild. Oh, and you've got laughter. Is that everyone's laughing still?
I've got two buttons. It really helps, actually, that applause at the end of any Zoom event. It really helps, rather than say, okay, everybody, unmute yourself. And then they go, how do I do that? Now we're all going to applaud. And you hear this kind of clatter. I just say, okay, everybody, let's applaud. Yay. And then they all just join in. It's visually, it looks like they're making that noise. So it's a nice transition. It comes with this desk, the Rode, I don't know what it's called. The Rode something or other. It's very technical.
It is very technical, but that's cool. Anyway, we are very honoured to have you and your applause and your amazing desks and magic with us today. Thank you very much.
Lovely to be here.
Yeah, and you've been doing this amazing virtual version of what you're doing, because today we're talking about the voice of activism and I was just saying that how amazingly you have managed to remain and continually to be virtually active and support numerous causes and charities, which is what you do as alongside many other things. And I think many of us are feeling restricted from not being able to have our voices and our activism in the same way, but you have pioneered through this amazing technology the ability to stay virtually active in a phenomenal way. So how has that been for you? What's the ride like?
Well, I think for the first 2 days in lockdown, when I realized, I couldn't drive around the country anymore with these drums, couldn't hire any halls, couldn't get together in the same way, I thought, well, I'll write a book. I'll spend 9 months writing a book or something. And then I thought, wait a minute, what are the outcomes, regardless of the skills and the venues and what are the outcomes people want? They want to connect. Teams want to bond. They want to take risks, and through that risk-taking, growing confidence. And I thought, well, I'll just work out a way to deliver those same outcomes, but out of time and on mute, which was quite difficult, because my USPs were, everyone's going to be in time. I can get everybody in time. How do you do that? Well, watch, and I can get people to sing in vocal harmony like you can in the first 15 minutes if the warm-up goes well, which we both have warm-ups that always go well. Yeah. So those two are taken away from me. Everyone's on mute. The latency issue means we're all out of time all the time, and it's not going to get fixed anywhere anytime soon. So I just thought, well, how do I do it? And I worked out a way to do it. If I could actually train up 20 people to do what I do, the money's really good, the need is high, but I don't want to take away from those 20 people the pain and the spiritual journey of doing it alone. So good luck, everyone.
Well, yeah, the spiritual journey of lockdown, it has been very intense, definitely, in that way. And obviously, this is just one part of your journey, one chapter of your journey that comes after many, many other chapters.
Yeah. Volume 3.
Pardon?
Volume 3.
Volume 3. Is there any parts of your story that you think have really helped you, giving you the foundation for what you're doing now, and giving you perhaps the resilience, the creativity? You're obviously awesomely inventive and imaginative anyway, just naturally, but is there anything you feel you've particularly had to draw on?
Yeah, it's awful. I had to walk my own talk, and for 20 years, I've been encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone. And as I just described, everything was taken away from me. So, or taken away, everything went. So I had to walk my own talk and step out my own comfort zone, which I do every day. Funnily enough, I wrote something on Facebook and then LinkedIn saying, well, yeah, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. And it's exciting, but every time I do it, I'm terrified. And the amount of feedback I had about that, because I realized I was actually speaking for a lot of people there. Sure, we've all had to get on Zoom. We've all had to connect these cables. We've all had to do these updates. And I think everybody is terrified in one way and excited in another. But I learned when I was in Africa, there's a Zulu saying that a warrior or warriors only ever go into battle with their knees trembling, however much training they do, however tough and however armed, they're concerned. And I think that probably describes the last 9 months for most of us, whatever we're doing, whether we're selling Tupperware or we're selling workshops,
Yeah.
it could go wrong. And the actually, I'll say one more thing about that is that in my work, when I'm talking to other people about stepping out of their comfort zones at the beginning, I say, listen, if we make mistakes, can we all just agree to forgive each other rather than humiliate each other in the bar later? And they go, yeah, of course. So I had to make an agreement with myself that if I made mistakes online, which I have done, one time my internet provider, when I was using Wi-Fi, decided to lock on to the internet next door. My whole thing went down. And when I managed to come back, luckily I was part of a group thing at Morning Gloryville, so another DJ took over. But when I came back, I was going, yeah, all right, I'm back, everybody. And they're all going, what? And all my settings had changed because I'd come via another server. So I had to reset everything. Now, that seemed like it took about 2 years and everyone was ready to put me up against the wall and shoot me at the end. But actually, it took about 30 seconds. And everyone was going, yay, Tom's back. So I had to learn that we're forgiven for those glitches. And we're probably forgiven for the first year. I think there's probably still quite a lot of forgiveness going on. And maybe it will last forever. But doing corporate events now, some quite big ones, they don't really want to hear that story. All they want to hear is when they hit Tom go, then they can relax for 30 minutes. So I've got a whole team working with me, just, with contingency, people ready to take over. So, yeah. And so the terror has diminished when it was just me alone. And sorry, I'm rather ranting, but when it's just me alone shouting at my laptop, not even knowing where the microphone was, going, come on, everybody. It was, I think, and you'll have found this when you do that and you're working with maybe 300 people or something online, and then they'll say, great, okay, so that was Tom, we're over to, and then you find yourself just standing at home in your converted front room, with the birds tweeting outside, maybe if you can hear them through the blackout curtains, going, what do I do now? It's really weird. Well, I think I'll go to the shop and buy some milk, if I'm allowed out. It's really, it's a thing that everybody's having to deal with online. Nobody's writing about it much, but it is very, very strange to be that out there. And you'll know, because I know you're a kind of introvert as well, to be that out there and then suddenly in. What do you do? Besides, normally I drive my Rolls Royce into the swimming pool just to let
You rock star.
No.
Oh no, I know, I appreciate you sharing that actually, because there is a lot of course it's a very performative thing what we're all doing, and we're all having to still perform. But of course, I mean, I know the first few months of lockdown, and every time after I did a Zoom, with my choirs, I would spontaneously cry without,
Oh,
and even
really?
though, yeah, I would have a cry, like literally like a minute of my eyes would burst and then it would stop. And it was literally that whole, I know, weird, but it was also just, it was partly the grief of not being able to see everyone, obviously, and
Yeah,
how weird that is and how isolating, like you say, so you've had this kind of weird form of connection where everyone's suddenly there in your
yeah,
lounge with you, and then suddenly they're gone on a press of a button, and they're gone in the rest of life because you can't see them. So
yeah,
there's this whole weird kind of grief that I, yeah, was experiencing, and even though I was thinking surely I'm not going to cry again, but it just would happen after every time. So I know what you mean. There's this kind of isolating thing that happens just after you
yeah,
disconnect, and then it is, oh right, there was, what do I do now?
yeah, yeah. I'm kind of fortunate in that Dawn, my wife and storyteller, has been doing similar work online, and so she understands. So if I get off an event and she's free, I say, Dawn, do you want to go for a walk down the river? And she'll go, yeah, yeah. And so we know this river bank really well now in West London. And then we'll get out and I can debrief a bit, or she can debrief a bit. And so that's a way of just changing perspective, because I don't know anybody who can get off an event and go, I'll just check my emails on the same machine. It just wouldn't. It couldn't
Yeah.
happen. You'd spontaneously combust. I'm so happy to hear you burst into tears.
Yeah, it's a bit less pronounced now, but there is that moment of whoa, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
how do I, yeah, and I think going for a walk you know, being in nature has obviously been a huge solace for all of us. We've all, as you
yeah,
say, got these well-worn walks that we know every
yes,
little lamppost and
yeah,
every,
yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. That's right.
but
Great.
just
But if I
going,
was a DJ, I'd say, okay, everybody, tell us what you do when you get off of Zoom.
yeah, answers in the questions. If you want to write to us and tell
Yeah,
us what do
that's
you
right.
do when you
Yeah,
get off of
exactly.
Zoom.
We want to hear from you.
The phone number to call is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you should do it. Well, let's see. Let's see. Let's ask for people under the comments. Sorry, I'm taking over.
No, no, let's do that, please. If you have a comment about how you are surviving after Zoom, let us know. What do you do? Do you sit with the cat, you know, have a
Hmm,
cup of tea?
hmm.
What's everyone's favorite ways of surviving the disconnect after a Zoom? Because it's a weird world we're in at the moment. And there's many wonderful things we've learned. And I think that forgiveness part that you touched on was really, that's been heartening actually. And part of, I think there has been, though people are very human, of course, still, but there has been a raising in awareness of how precious life is and how we do need to be kind to each other,
Mm,
and that
mm,
we are all struggling, and therefore let's be forgiving if suddenly somebody just gets kicked off the Zoom because their reception drops or whatever,
mm, mm.
and just being really patient with the whole process. So I think that kindness factor, and you've always been a man of great heart and a great, you know, of bringing love through music into all sorts of settings and seeing the impact that has. And so, can you tell us about some of your favourite stories, whether in lockdown or other times, where you've just seen that power of music to enhance, whether it's our kindness to each other, our love for each other, our connection? I know you do a lot of work with teamwork, but what are some of
Mm.
your favourite examples of vocal revolution?
I think one that sprung to mind as you were talking, it must have been 2005, because when Dawn and I got married, on our honeymoon, we got a message from someone we worked for, an organization we worked for just before we left. And they said, we just wanted to let you know that we went out and bought some drums. It was a woman. It was actually from a university we worked with, their admin. And she said that I told my children, do not play the drums unless I'm here, because we don't want to disturb the neighbors. And there's only certain times that we can play when we'll watch, you know, when they go out. So she went out shopping, left her kids, and she came back and they were drumming away. And she said, I told you not to play them. And then, sure enough, there was a knock on the door from the neighbours, and they said, "We've come to talk to you about the drumming." And she said, "I'm so sorry, it won't happen again." And they said, "No, we have some drums, but we haven't played them because we didn't want to disturb you." So the short story is, every Sunday after that, they got together and played together. Other people in the neighborhood heard and said, "Do you mind if I bring my saxophone? Do you mind?" So it turned into this regular Sunday music event that they just, it grew and it grew. And that was through one team building thing, probably with them for 45 minutes. And I've always said it's like dropping a pebble into a still lake or a still pond. You don't know where the ripples will go. That's only one story. I'll tell you one more of it was, again, just purely vocal harmony this time. There was no drumming. And I went back to that company 3 months later, and someone said, "Oh, yes, you, the singer." And he said, "Let me tell you, I now sing to my son every night. We used to play a CD." Again, so back in the time of CDs, to get him to go to sleep. And then I started singing, and my wife said, "I didn't know you could sing." And she said, "I never wanted to sing in front of you because I thought you'd laugh." So it turned out she was a singer, and they now sing in harmony to their children every night to help them get to sleep. I mean, can you imagine
Wow.
what that child's life is like, and what their children's lives are going to be like? They go, "Oh, my parents always sung to me, so I'll sing to mine." I mean, that's just two stories, probably out by now, because I've been doing this for 20 years, probably out of thousands, and they're probably all of a similar kind of quirky, it would be great to write a book out of them, a bit like Chicken Soup for the Soul. But I'm sure, in fact, okay, everybody, if you have stories like this, do send them in. We could publish it by March.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everything's happening so fast these days. But
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
well, those are so moving, and I love that it's that ripple out effect as well, because you know that when one person's life changes, it changes their family life, and it can
yeah,
potentially change their neighborhood or their
yeah,
workplace,
yeah,
or their and the ripple out of that, as you say, that's going down generations now. That singing, being sung to as a child, and then passing that on to your own children. That's legacy, basically, isn't it? That's
yeah. It
amazing.
is. Yeah, I know it sounds almost grandiose to call it legacy, but it is. It is legacy. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what tribes do, and that's what proper culture does. It doesn't say, "I'm going to leave you this thing, this object that I've saved up for. I'm going to leave you something that will kind of expand your soul," and there'll be no kind of question that you wouldn't pass it on. That's the thing.
yeah. It's the
I'm getting
treasures,
quite
isn't it?
emotional.
Yeah,
I better have a cup. I better drink some tea.
I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's a beautiful. It is a beautiful feeling, and I think that's. I think obviously that's why there is such a great honor, and I know we both share that sense of. And I know I always see in you this great sense of respect for ceremony and the responsibility of being a facilitator, because you are affecting change in people's lives potentially, and making sure that we make those agreements about the space being safe, which you mentioned earlier about,
Mm.
hey, we're not all going to humiliate each other. We're going to really support each other in taking risks
Yeah.
and getting out of our boxes, as it were. And that
Mm.
there's a responsibility and a ceremony, and then you also have, I know, this anarchic wild side that just blows everything out of the water
Mm.
as well.
Well, that we, from that book by Mihaly with the unpronounceable second name called Flow. He says flow is found at the intersection of discipline and surrender. And I kind of took that. I thought, well, it sounds a little bit clinical. So I say the groove is found at the crossroads of discipline and surrender. But the essential words are discipline and surrender, because you don't want a facilitator who's just going, "Hey, everybody, isn't everything wonderful? Let's be wonderful. Let's be," because everyone goes, "Yeah, well, do you know what? I think I've just got to go and check my car." And nor do you want someone to go, "Right, I'm going to teach you all about vocal harmony. You over there, you over there. You know, you don't want that either, but you do want to know there's a structure in place, and then you can be a bit wild. You know, the great thing about the last Sing for Water, when I had those wonderful singers with me, those harmony singers, I knew I had them, and we'd rehearsed, and even if I wasn't there, they would just take it and do it perfectly. So it gave me the chance to just kind of stand back and then be a bit not wild with them, but be a bit wild with the crowd. Because I watched the video again, I kind of set up this competition, say, okay, you lot, would you do this? Yeah, we'll do that. You know, and they were the other choirs. And then I said, okay, so you handle it. So these people are going to work with you. Oh, so that leaves me with you lot. And it was the sort of public, you know, who'd come to watch. And I watched the way I draw them in. It's quite subtle because I'm just being humorous with them. And then I say, do you know what? Because I'm pretending we're auditioning for the Lion King. I say, do you know what? You have a better chance of doing this if you stand up. Would you mind standing up? And everybody just watches them. All the choirs, all the people on stage, and I know they're thinking he's gone too far this time because I see it in people's faces. And then you see they all stand up and they're all smiling. They go, all right, here, I'm going to count you in. And man, that is my favorite thing to do, because that is the discipline and surrender. You know, I've built this safe space. We've got a choir, we've got different choirs. It's all right if you stand up, and half the people stand up anyway, so they're only joining in. And then of course they surrender within that safety. You watch them; they're dancing. The kids are dancing, and that is, if anything is my USP, it's not drums. It's not, you know, I'm not a particularly good singer. I can get people singing in harmony. It's the fact, and that's where the name the Rockstar Activator came from, because someone said that to me at a conference. And they said, do you know what, you're a Rockstar Activator? I said, I mean, that sounds a bit pompous. And he said, no, because it's not, you're not saying you are the rock star and you are the activator. You're activating the rock star in the crowd. That's what it's about. So I could take that, because in the business world, they call it discretionary effort. That effort you kind of hold back and go, do you know what, I think I'll save that for when I'm playing with my kids or doing my hobby. Whereas if you can get used to that, just letting that discretionary effort out as a kind of generosity of spirit, then it doesn't matter if you're waiting at the bus stop and you get chatting to someone, or, you know, I don't know, you see someone who needs a bit of a hand with something and you get through your inhibitions and help them. That's the kind of inner rock star I'm interested in bringing out, because we're all judgmental. You know, we have to be judgmental in order to survive, but we've kind of turned the judgment up too much to survive. We need to know to turn it down sometimes. And go, let's try this. Yeah. And so that's, what was the question?
I can't remember anymore. It doesn't matter. I was just listening and absorbing all of those amazing places that you just took us through. And I think that point that you've just come to about letting go of judgment is so important, isn't it? And just being able to be absorbed. If you want to claim your inner rock star, for me, it's always through the place of the child, in the sense of being able to play, being allowed to play again. Because when we were children, we didn't have those same judgments about ourselves. We didn't know. Okay, maybe we still needed help to make sure we didn't do something crazy and dangerous. But still, like you say, it still needs to be the structure to hold us. But then we can play, and then we can be really absorbed and let go into finding these places in ourselves which are wilder and playful and jubilant and joyful and all sorts of wonderful things. And would you have any kind of tips for helping people? What would we say your tips for helping people get into that space where they can release their inner rock star? What have you seen that really works for people? You've done it so many times.
There's a course that Dawn and I run sometimes called Call of the Wild Twin, because Dawn, being a storyteller, has studied all this. And the theory, I like the theory that the theory is that we're all born with a wild twin, but because of the way our society is set up, it's the sensible twin that gets all the praise. We help, without making too much fuss. We get our homework in on time. We're polite. I mean, all these things I'm not knocking any of them. They're ways to get through in our world. But the wild twin eventually, starts getting criticized. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. So the wild twin doesn't die. The wild twin has its own energy and goes, well, I'm going to go off and have some adventures then. I'm not welcome here. So it's off to the woods or the mountains or wherever. And as we grow up and get more confident and start to make our own rules about the way we want to live, we can invite the wild twin back. But the wild twin is a bit pissed off with us, to be honest. So we have to start making it look attractive to come and join us, because we've rejected that twin when we didn't know any better. So we have to start behaving a bit wild. So, and then I go, yeah, he's not so boring after all, all right, give him a chance. And then we actually do this on the course. We actually have ways of activating the wild twin. So, and then it's quite amazing. We send people out for a walk. We often do it in a country house or something, send them out for a walk. So go and find your wild twin. They go, what? Just go for a walk, be silent, don't take your phone. And then when they come back an hour later, they go, yeah, I actually saw her. She was in the trees. She flew down and she said, she kind of looked at me a bit like this and then laughed, and then and people, they have these visions, or they say, yeah, I knew nothing was going to happen to me. I'd just go for a walk in the woods. And then they go, but I felt like someone was tapping on my shoulder, and I looked around, and then I kind of heard this voice saying, yeah, do you know what? I think you could have handled this a bit better, this whole twin thing. And then they become, you have to negotiate a bit. But generally the wild twins are ready. They wouldn't come if they didn't, but they just want to make their point that, we haven't been that good with them. But then, again, months later, we see people or talk to them. And they say, oh, yeah, me and, Jessica or whatever the name of the twin is. Yeah, we talk every day. And if I'm about to do something that I know is not really that good for me, she'll say, do you really want to do that? And so it's, so I would say behave, if you're asking what people can do on a daily basis, walk around the world or walk around your home, or be on Zoom and think, all right, I want to attract my wild twin. Would I behave like this? Or would I behave like this? And I use quite a lot of wooden spoons in my thing. And I say, all right, we're going to play along with Paul Simon. That you can call me out. And the rhythm I want you to play is this. Da, 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 da. And I say everybody at first, and that's how they're playing. And I said, look, this isn't Musical Academy. I'm a talent scout for the Lion King. I'm looking for performance, right? And they go, all right, da, 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 da. And then once they're into that, I say, all right, forget about the music. Just point at the cobwebs in the corner and all the rubbish on the floor. I know it's there. And so then they're kind of like this. And if you see a screen of 30 people doing that, they all activate each other. And they start doing this. And, I know, I'll go backwards and forwards. And so we always have that choice, in anything we do, whether to do it like this. Yeah, I'm doing what he says. I feel my spirit becoming free. He said it would. Or, you just, where's my twin? Where's my twin? And then the twin looks down and goes, hey, he or she is looking like they might be someone to dance with, And that's it. That's what my life is.
Calling in the wild twin. Wow,
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. And it's that, I call it my inner rebel, and I know that my inner rebel will kick up hell if I do not listen.
Yeah, perfect.
And it will sabotage, and it will really, really get grumpy, and and it's part of feeding the artistic self and that's why that archetypal book, The Artist's Way, much wisdom in that book as well about
Yeah.
really honoring the artist and, you know, taking your artist for a walk, taking your artist on a
Mm.
date, honoring the spirit, not getting caught in what she calls the virtue trap, you know, so that you're being a good girl or a good boy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just getting out of our boxes and how we can support ourselves to, yeah, have that freedom, that real freedom, which is so liberating when we see it. And it must be amazing for you to see just those screens full of people just rocking out.
It is. And I showed you this earlier. If I want to, if we get to the last number, I say, okay, so you may just want to let your hair down a bit now. So I'm just going to help. And then they go, it's
Party
so great.
time.
And I'll put me in the middle of a grid of 9, so there's me in the middle. And I have 8 people around me just dancing. It's just permission. It's all about permission.
Yeah,
Just
it
yeah.
really is permission to, you know, and then I feel the more we give ourselves internal permission, the more we be that space for others, can't we? And we can see
Yeah.
when someone is just on the edge of, you can see when people just want to let go and they just need a little push.
Yeah, and you see that in groups, in physical groups, we see this all the time. It is the pattern of a workshop that sometimes the most resistant person gets into it, or if you're working in a school, the cool kids who are going, not for me, and then they go, oh, actually, this sounds a bit like some favorite song that they have, so they get into it. Everybody else gets into it. It's all permission, and there's a friend of mine who I met actually via LinkedIn. I've never met her in person. She's in America, but she does something called the inner ally. And she says, we all know about the inner critic. You also have an inner ally, which I think is a really good way to describe it, because before I used to say, yeah, excuse me, that's the inner critic. I'm going to go with my intuition, or I'm going to go with flow, or I'm going to go or the wild twin. But I actually like, if you want, it's almost like the two devils on your shoulder, the inner critic, inner ally. It's a very, very simple thing to remember.
Yeah.
And we've just got to turn that voice up and that voice down. That's all. It's very simple. It's very hard, but very simple.
Yes, yes. I
And
know
you just
that.
got to practice it, practice it, practice it.
Yeah, and it's how we talk to ourselves internally. I've learned Marissa Peer, who's a hypnotherapist, she calls it installing the inner cheerleader, where you have to kind of
Mm.
consciously program yourself
Yeah.
basically regularly and talk. I've really learned this. The way I talk to myself internally is, and when we're around good people who coach us and encourage us, we come out of ourselves and we learn, hopefully through that process, and as you've demonstrated, when people have been in that experience with you where you've coached them out towards to being their wild twin, to embodying that then they can internalize that for themselves, and then
Yeah.
they go, oh, I can help people in my community become
Yeah,
that, or I can.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I can. It's funny. It's keep coming up in this conversation. Generosity of spirit, because generosity of spirit has a energy has a kind of rolling energy. So you create more generosity in yourself, but you allow others to be generous around you. Um, so that sometimes you give people a compliment, they go, oh no, it was all you. And I always say, no, look, I'm giving you something, don't bat it back to me, just kind of accept. I'm telling you you're great. All right. And they go, all right then, I'm great. And then it's so English. I don't know if it's British, but it's certainly English to go, oh no, it was nothing. Well, then if I'm saying you're beautiful and you're great and you inspire me, and you go, oh no, really, it was nothing. What's that do to my gift that I'm giving you? It takes something for me to say that, being an introvert. So we've just got to. Basically, I have to be prime minister, and I'll just bring about culture change.
Okay.
In give me what? So I'd put a team together with you and some other facilitators, Katie, and we would just take over. We'd have
Okay.
a generous nation in. Some, yeah. Well, I haven't written it out exactly how it would work, but it would. I'm sure we could do a better job. Because that's what we want in Africa. It started in southern Africa, but you probably heard this word Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because we are. I know it's the name of an operating system, open source operating system, but that's why they took that name, because everybody was just giving for the common good to create this thing. That's what Ubuntu is. And we should have an Ubuntu nation rather than a mean nation.
Well, exactly.
So I said I wouldn't get political, but I think there is a kind of meanness that is allowed. And do you know what? I've never met anybody who really wanted to be mean. They're only being mean in any way out of fear, or that might get taken from me, or I've had too much taken from me already. I have to grab it. But it's we've got to stop being that way.
Yeah.
As a nation. I know there's people watching going, I'm not mean. Well, I'm not talking about you.
But as a general, the evolving, I think some of the things that I have seen recently around poverty, and I mean really it's about sharing, isn't it? It's about sharing, because if we were able to share, it's a bit like that thing even in the playground, where you have to teach kids now it's time to share, and there's a certain phase they go through where they're very resistant to that, and then they understand. And we're all still learning, it seems to me, and some people are still learning that lesson. How do we share? And sharing being not just a kind of, not because sort of again, you must do this because you've been told, but sharing from your genuine, authentic gifts. So if you have a gift, whether it's making cakes, making tea, drumming, dancing, whatever it is, you share that generously in the world, and you will receive as you give, and understanding that principle rather than the kind of, the profit thing, which is I give in order to get back and make a profit and hoard so that I then build up my thing so that I'm bigger than everybody else. And that kind of,
well, it's fear-based. All that behavior is fear-based. I won't be safe if I don't do that. But it's ridiculous, because people who build all that stuff up, then they get scared it's going to be nicked off them. So they have to have security. They have to have insurance. Then they have to have insurance on the insurance. Then they have to complain about how much the insurance is costing. It just rolls and rolls and rolls. Whereas if you have an insurance that if I'm generous, first of all, it gives me energy, but other people want to be generous around me. If I put something on LinkedIn, I say, look, to all my friends on LinkedIn, it'd be great if you would comment on this, as you did recently with something that someone else had posted about me. And I said, it'd be great if we had some comments. Yeah, Tom really is that good underneath. So I asked about 10 people, and immediately 10 people said, yeah, of course. And so there's a sort of, and they were pleased to be able to do something for me, because I might have done a free birthday party for them online or something. In fact, that is the case with 3 of those people. I have to say, they got the good side of that deal. So
one comment or a birthday party.
Hey, that's right. What do you want? What do you want? An hour's online with all your friends, or write me a comment on LinkedIn. So, but that's it all just, and it becomes that's the thing. It just becomes a lifestyle. It becomes I'm lucky. I'm married to someone with a similar outlook. So we generate generosity around us.
Yes.
It's amazing. These drums came out of our van just as lockdown started, and 3 days later, vandals burnt the van. They torched the van. And the amount of people who said, oh, you can have our second car. You can have our, I mean, the offers just came in. It was like that Christmas movie. I can't remember. Where the guy's in trouble and he thinks he's going to collapse, and all the people just say, "Hey, he's in trouble." And they all just arrive and they dump their money on his kitchen table.
Yeah,
you know the one. I can't.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it either, but it's that spirit of generosity is what we're talking about, and
Yeah,
communal generosity, and how we can create generous communities, and that's what we're building, I believe, through. And that's why creativity and sharing our voices, I believe that's a generous act, and that goes counter to what we're told. We're often told, "Oh no, you're." Certainly, I was given those kind of messages. You're being too self-centered. You just want all the attention. Blah blah blah. Well,
yeah.
actually,
Oh
it's
God.
completely the opposite. When you share your voice in service to something, that is a great gift to those people that are involved. And I know I've seen you do that, and I've seen that generosity, that you bring the same amount of commitment, whether it's just to a really a small local gig or a huge conference with with a big ticket and a big fee attached. It's that same spirit of generosity that I
Mm.
see showing through you. And I believe if we show up with that, whether we're walking down the street or whether it is a big occasion, that consistency of having the same generosity, the same spirit of Ubuntu, and appreciating whoever I'm with, we're connected. So
Yeah.
therefore, I need to show up my best that I can today for them.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you, it's just reminded me of an exercise that I do in a longer workshop. This can only work in a physical way. If we're in a room and I've taught 3-part harmony, and I say, who wants to do the higher, who wants to do the low and middle, I'll kind of separate them, and then they'll go, great, this is brilliant. It's the best thing I've ever done. And I'll go, okay, so now I have a challenge for you. I want you to go to a part that you don't know, that you're not comfortable with. So we're all going to start. It's going to sound glorious. Be prepared for it to sound like it's going wrong, but carry on, right? And then first time we do that, people kind of eventually sort of shuffle over there, and the group who see someone coming, they look a bit worried. Oh, I don't know if that person, they're going to mess up our harmony. We had our little group, we all knew it, and that. So I stop it. I say, right, we can do that again. This time, when you see someone approaching, don't look like they're going to destroy your life. Welcome them, right? So whether they're going to get it or not, welcome them, because they're more likely to get it if they feel welcome in your part of the harmony. And the great thing is, you hear the song sound better immediately because people aren't singing it protectively or I better keep low just in case I get it wrong when I get there. It becomes this glorious example of people being generous, and we could give them PowerPoint lectures on that. They go, oh yeah, I get it, generosity of spirit, but it's much better to deliver the experience of it, because you don't even need the words. Everybody's connected, everybody's kind of loving it. It becomes a big sort of love fest of harmony.
I love that. The love fest of harmony. That is so cool. And yeah, welcoming, the spirit of welcome and the spirit of freedom, and not, letting go of some of these protective things that we've learned. I don't believe they're natural to us, but we've learned them. And so having the opportunity to really learn on our feet in a visceral way and an
Yeah,
experiential way, to
yeah.
actually welcoming. I actually have a choir called the Welcome Choir, and they are very lively, and I do encourage us to swap parts around a lot, and it's
Oh, great.
so I'm really resonating with that, because I see it work, and I see it, not to get too and I think that's been one of the gifts. I have said that to my choirs of this time, is that actually we've had to learn we can't do things in the way we like doing them. So we
Yeah,
have to find all these other ways. And we've sung in all sorts of different ways this year, whether it's on Zoom or in socially distant formations or whatever. We've stretched. And I think that though it's challenging, it's really, really good for the life of a creative group of any kind, to keep
yeah,
changing things up, basically,
yeah,
so that we don't get like, this is my chair and I sit here and we do
yeah,
this,
yeah,
and
yeah,
oh, that stuff.
yeah, yeah. We're being completely challenged to stay alive rather than just existing until people talk about getting back to normal. Fewer people are talking about getting back to normal now because they know it's not going to happen. But can you imagine, Katie, if in a year's time, you and I book a hall and we can all meet and we get all our people together, and everything we've done online, we say, all right, I'm just going to count you in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and back. Because that's all we're going to have to do. They're going to create their own parties and their own harmonies and stuff. I have this vision. It'll be so funny. Do you know all that? Here we go. And they'll just be connecting and dancing and.
It'll be glorious. I
It
can't
will
wait.
be glorious, and it will happen. I mean,
It will.
there's no way it's not going to happen. So, if you want to come, sign up below.
Party in 2022 or whatever. Yeah. Massive party. Tom Katie party and everybody else party. Yeah.
Tom Katie Love Fest Harmony was that?
Yeah, man. Wow, we've got the title right. Okay, let's just.
Well, I
book the
think it should be
venue.
Katie Tom because it's your podcast. So.
It's okay. I'm being generous of spirit.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
that's right. I'll accept it. But, all right.
Oh no, I love that, and I love that that generosity just that it ripples out, like you said. And I think you did touch on Sing for Water, which I just wanted to honour. For those that don't know, is a big fundraiser for Water Aid, and I just wanted to honour that as we come towards the close, that you have done some amazing charity work and amazing ripple out effects. Because one of the reasons I love being co-directing Sing for Water in London is that I have this amazing sense, and I know it's shared by everybody there, that we're not just singing for ourselves, we're singing to make a change and to contribute to positive change in this world, to contribute to people having water and to us sharing basically better in the world, sharing the world's resources. Because for me, if I can turn on a tap and someone else can't, something is not right there. So, I need to be active in trying to address that. And there are many, unfortunately, huge numbers of different injustices that we all may feel moved by or touched by or impacted by. And I think the force of music is so important and powerful in enabling people to be active in the face of injustice, and that's what I've seen you do so many times. So many times.
Thanks. I mean, what have we done? We've bought a water pump, a water tower. We bought all sorts of things for a particular orphanage in Kenya, who I have a personal connection with, and so that's all based around water, and it's my personal way of kind of sending royalties to Africa, where my drums come from, where some of the songs that I earn good money teaching. So I go, here's some royalties. I can't find the exact people it should go to, but they're benefiting, and they benefit the community because they share their water with the local communities. I mean, I can never go there because I'm a saint. And you know what? I'd prefer not to. I'd prefer to give them the airfare rather than fly up. But I do know personally some of the people there. I'll just say one thing about that. It's an anecdote, really, that I did some, I think, £199 parties before Christmas, and I said I'm going to send all the money to Africa. So I gathered £2,000 from those parties, and I sent it via Western Union, who I'd sent money to them before. Western Union said, we're not going to pay this money to them. You've been conned. I said, what do you mean I've been conned? I know these people. They said, well, have you been there? I said, no, I haven't been there because I'd rather give them the money than go. They said, well, anybody could send you a picture of a child looking hungry. So they sent my money back. And I said, look, I escalated it to a line manager. They still wouldn't release it. So luckily, being a polymath, I built them a website over 2 days, and I sent the money again. Again, it got rejected. I said, I want to speak to your line manager. And the line manager said, I said to them, are you online? She said, yes. I said, look at this website, and sent them the address. They said, oh, there's children there. Look, so, I'd really stacked the website full of these quite emotional pictures, but also I'd got them to make a sign saying, thank you, Tom, right? Not as some big ego thing for me. And she said, are you Tom? This was the Western Union woman. I said, yeah. So she said, all right, I'm going to release the money. And I said, look, can you make a note? Anybody is going to release this money because you might not be here tomorrow when they go to pick it up. And so anyway, that smoothed it through. But I could easily have given up on that and you know, so you just got to keep. That's the thing about activism, and I've seen this in your work. I saw it in Extinction Rebellion. You just got to keep going, keep going, keep going, because everyone. I mean, that was quite benign, that shutdown of Western Union. But this is the thing that clinched it. I said to the line manager, "So, are you telling me that I cannot send money to anybody I haven't met?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "That's a pretty bad business model for a money exchange company. I don't think you're going to do very well." And she said, "Yeah, I think you've got a point, Mr. Morley." So you got to learn their language as well. I mean, we got to do everything. That's you could change from the outside, change from the inside. Any way we can make that change. We've got to, if we're intelligent, we've just got to work with it.
Yes, and something there that the key there was empathy, because you empathized with, you thought into what kind of language does she need? What does she need to see to believe me?
Yeah.
And rather than just going, you could have just, like you said, given up or just have a really good rant about those people, and I'm sure you did along the way,
Yeah,
but
believe me, I thought about it. I hate Twitter, but I thought I'm going to get on a Twitter, but
yeah.
I didn't.
But you didn't. And what you did is you kept thought really creatively, and you created a resource for the community because you created them a website, which is something for them as well. So that generosity again, and empathy, I think empathy is being that Ubuntu quality, we are because of each other and we are
Yeah,
connected. So even those people that seem to be resisting us or being obstacles in our path, sometimes we can, if we recognize them as a teacher of some sort,
absolutely.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. I learned a lot from that whole exchange. Because at one point they said we can't put you through to line manager, and I said, look, it's. I said, what time do you close? Um, and they told me. I said, okay, that's 6 hours. I'm standing up. I'm going to stay here with the phone for 6 hours. I don't care if you can't find anyone for 5.5 hours. I'm here. And I said, I've got, and also speaking their language, I said, I've got your name, Susie. Do not cut me off. And so she said, oh, okay. And she kept coming back every 15 minutes. I'm sorry, Mr. Morley. I said, Susie, I'm just going to, you don't need to tell me anymore. I'm just be confident I'm here and I'm going to speak to a line manager. Eventually, it happened.
Gosh. Many layers of activism, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was activism. You're right. It wasn't me just being a stroppy customer. It's saying, I know your language. I know what you'll respond to. I wasn't threatening to. I said, look, I have no beef with you at all. I know you're reading the script, but I need to someone who can speak to someone who can look at this creatively, and you're not allowed to, but your line manager is. So, it's
Yeah.
polite all the way along.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. So it's sometimes it is standing with your top hat on with the drums at the front of the march, and sometimes it's dealing with Western Union.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. And they're both the same thing. They're just, yeah, let's take a stand. You know.
Yeah. And what your final kind of reflections? What is your stand you're taking for this year, Tom Morley?
Well, I think it's nothing revolutionary. It is to keep finding ways to deliver those outcomes. Connection, bonding. I think you probably know this story. That I'll tell it quickly. That my grandmother told me in the Second World War, when they used to go down into the underground when the bombs were dropping, they'd sleep down there at night. But the kids couldn't sleep; they were too anxious. So people sang to them. It wasn't the singers. They didn't. It wasn't the actors. It was normal people. They didn't have to go through 3 months of therapy to saying, "But I can't sing." There was a necessity to sing so the children could go to sleep. Um, so that kind of COVID is presenting us with that kind of scenario. In fact, climate change is presenting us with that kind of scenario, but COVID has brought it closer to home. So I think I'm going through the next year, just encouraging that in people. seize the day, you know, don't wait until you've done that extra workshop or read that extra book or talk to your coach. You know, who is it? Who's the leader in this house? You're the leader, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and we all have something that we can lead with, and we can all share generously in that spirit
Yeah.
of generosity you've talked about. That's a great, thank you very much. That's a great example of amazing activism and leadership in action, and how, yeah, I recently wrote a song. I was inspired to write a song because somebody died, and in one of my groups, and the message that came through the song, because as you know, songs, I believe,
Mm.
I think it was Mick Jagger that said songs are everywhere. You just have to be, listening for them. So,
Yeah.
and they just come. I really believe they come as like medicine, really, to us and
Yeah.
through us.
Yeah.
And so this song popped up, and it was really about don't hold back, because life is so precious, and this is what we've seen this year. Life is really, really precious. It's
Yeah.
always been precious, but now we're all aware of that in a different way, and climate change as well, too, on the back of it. We
Yeah.
have to
Absolutely.
cherish this preciousness of each other and of the moments that we have with each other, which are precious and
Yeah. And I
not
think,
guaranteed.
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But it just occurred to me that all the things we used to do to numb ourselves out, even if it was just going to Pret a Manger at lunchtime and having our favorite hot soup or something, they've all gone. So we just have ourselves and the state of the world and whatever's in the kitchen. So I think when we come back together, I think a lot of that is going, that kind of appreciation you're talking about. I think a lot of that is going to be in the room, and that holding back, it's not going to seem so important anymore. I think we're going to have a ball.
All the wild twins will be there in all their best gear,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, I think so. I mean, why not? Why not? This is the cool.
This
This
is
is
the
the cool.
time. I know there's so many things that I know we've got this list of after or when we get out or when we get vaccinated or whatever,
Yeah,
there's this whole,
yeah,
and the appreciation we will have, personally, I just can't wait to see my family and things like that. So just that tenderness that has come into all of our
yeah.
relationships.
Tenderness is the word. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much for sharing these amazing insights with us today, Tom. And it's been tender and uplifting and wild and everything I thought it would be. So I really appreciate your time and your
It's been a real
generosity of
pleasure.
spirit. Thank you
All of
so
me.
much.
All of me. We all really appreciate you, Katie.
Oh, thank you very much. Can you give us a bit of disco to go out with, the special lights again?
Oh yeah, yeah. Hold on, hold on. Now I have a button on here as well with a kind of track on it.
Then it goes bang. Whoa. Hey.
And a round of applause.
Woo! Tom Morley, yay!
Hey.
Fantastic.
That's enough of that.
That's enough of that. We could go on forever, I know, but
I
we
know.
will we will do the Love Fest Harmony Party, and
Yeah,
it's
let's do
scheduled
it.
now. And thank you for partying with us. And I'm sure everyone had a good. Oh no, you keep changing how glittery you are.
I'm
It's
trying to
wonderful.
I'm trying to get normal now. All right, yeah.
No, no, no. I don't see that for you, Tom.
All right, I'll go this one. Yeah,
Oh, thank you again so much, and
pleasure.
enjoy. Be well, and wishing you safe passageway through the rest of lockdown. And
Yeah.
thank you for all your giving to the world so generously. Thank you. Bless
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye. Bye.